Hi there Star Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bossk Bounty video, and welcome to episode 144 of Ask Bossk Bounty. This is the weekly series that drops every Sunday, where I take your questions from the comment section below and do my very best to answer them for you. So if you do have a question for next week's episode 145, please leave them in the comment section and hopefully you'll be featured. Now, before we do get onto this week's questions, I do want to just go over a couple of things. The first thing is that I'm going to be doing a giveaway. So the giveaway is for the following. It is one of these Red 5 Designs Kenner Star Wars cardback guides. And this is an awesome book. It's a mini guide. Really good book. So basically, once you've bought yourself or you're looking to buy a mint on card or carded figure, then you can look on this to find out exactly which version of that card back is. You know, whether it's like a 41A or if it's a 45B, all that kind of thing. It just takes you through, and depending on what stickers and stuff like that you have on the cards, it will determine which version of that card back you have. It's an awesome book. So there's one of these up for grabs for the winner. Now, to enter, all you need to do is ask me a question for next week's episode in the comment section below of this video. And that will enter you into the competition, basically, to win this. Also, I do have another copy of this as well. So I have a second copy and the Boba Fett for Morak figure. And this is going to be for my Patreon supporters and channel members. So the people that support me on those two platforms, expect a video very soon for you guys on how to win these. The other thing I just wanted to quickly mention was I want to give a big shout out to my buddy Glenn. I've seen the posts that you've been doing this last couple of days, and I just want to send out my best wishes to you, buddy. He's going through a torrid time at the moment with basically the big C, and he's going through some pretty harsh treatments at the moment. So I just want to give you my best wishes, mate, and also hopefully the people that are watching this video can send their prayers, or if you're not religious, maybe, you know, just send my buddy Glenn some good vibes, you know, just to get through this, man. You've got two kids which are the same age as my children, so, you know, I just can't imagine what you're going through, buddy. And I just wanted to send my best wishes, mate, and, you know, hopefully a full recovery. All right then, guys, thank you for allowing me to mention those two things, my buddy Glenn, and also good luck in the giveaway. So let's get straight on to the first question of this week's video. Just Capster says, awesome video, boss. Question for next week: do you see the AT-AT ever returning, especially for the Return of the Jedi Endor one? What's really special about it is the AT-AT driver is the only one in Hasbro history with the black gloves. They've done the Falcon not long ago. I'm sure this will sell all the same. We are getting a new Speeder too. It would be just perfect. Your thoughts? This is a difficult one, isn't it? Because it's a really large vehicle, and I think they'll have to find some way of releasing that if they were to do that, just like they did with the Millennium Falcon. I think the Millennium Falcon was originally going to be a Parks exclusive, and then because of the pandemic, they changed it to a Target exclusive. So I think for them to do it, they're going to have to get some kind of retailer deal, or it'll end up being like a Pulse exclusive or something. I don't think they're just going to do a general release for it in all stores, unfortunately. Fingers crossed for that one. I mean, me personally, I would probably prefer the Empire Strikes Back one, because I want one without the dirty feet. But, you know, the Endor one is cool as well. Dwayne Cook says, another great video. Question for next time: what do you think are the odds that we will get a Garandan figure in the vintage collection? I've always loved the look of that character. Then with that sculpt, they can also do the Kubaz. I believe that is what the species name of Garandan is, that appeared in The Mandalorian as well. Absolutely, my friend. I've been banging that drum as well. Garandan is one of my favourite figures and characters. Not so much character really, because he's only in it very shortly, but I just love the design of him, and this figure actually isn't too bad. This is from the Saga collection. Of course, they could improve on that one. I think the soft goods could be a bit better. I think his cloak is a little bit longer in the film, if I'm right. But absolutely, if they were to do a new sculpt of that, then yeah, there's a couple of uses that they could get for that. You've got the flute playing one as well in The Mandalorian, and yeah, also the sort of assassin one as well. That'd be cool. Whether Hasbro thinks like us and would do it is an entirely another matter, and yeah, I fear for that one. I don't think it'll happen, to be honest, but it would be cool. Mark Simmons says, hey Bossk, love the show. We are overdue for an update on the Max Rebo band. What are the chances of getting an update? Would love the Rebo band for Retro too. What do you think? Well, I've got my sort of vintage ones there for you. You can see my Max is, you know, not so blue as he used to be. And yeah, I think this one's a difficult one for Hasbro to do, because it's in that realm of not really being a figure that they could put onto a card back, and you would probably want all three in a box, you know, in some kind of play set. So it's a difficult one for them to do. I can't really see them doing it. I mean, if they're going to be doing it, it'll be next year, you know, for the 40th anniversary of the Return of the Jedi. But the Max Rebo is something that I haven't heard any noises about really in terms of Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary. So, you know, at this moment in time, it's a no, but, you know, of course, it would be great. My son has the Power of the Force one, which is like a really blue Max. He's great, but you know, if you want the vintage style ones, yeah, maybe it'll have to be a retro collection set or something like that. You know, I think these ones are actually pretty good in today's sort of standards. I mean, you don't really need too much articulation or anything for the Rebo band, do you? KK Loop 90 says, hey boss, question for next week. Do you think Hasbro will ever update the hip articulation for Dinjarin with the new ball joints? It looks like all they would need to do is swap out the lower abdominal and hip joints with the Death Watch Mandalorian's parts and make a new belt and holster for him. They seem to both have the same thighs and knees. Also, do you think they will release a deluxe version of Dinjarin with the Beskar spear, whistling birds effects, flamethrower effect, soft goods cape, blaster pistol, pulse rifle and dark saber? Thanks for reading this and all the videos that you make. All the things that you've mentioned there to go with the Mandalorian, that would probably have to be a deluxe pack, right? Because they wouldn't be able to fit it all into the bubble. I wouldn't put it past Hasbro doing that. And in terms of the hips, they've already updated the rocker ankles, haven't they, and other bits on the Mandalorian, so there's no reason why they can't do that. I'm thinking that the articulation for his hips isn't too bad on that figure already. Of course, it would be much better if it was the Death Watch Mandalorian. Do Hasbro think like we do in terms of, you know, improving that figure one step further? I'm not 100% sure. The rocker ankles was definitely something it needed, but yeah. Who knows on that one, my friend? Again, not anything that I've heard of that they're going to be doing. Darth Wizzy Wizard, hey there buddy, says, hi Tim, what vehicle should Hasbro release again that have already been out if you had to pick 5? Thanks Tim. 5, wow. Okay, so from the vintage collection, I think you mean that have already been released. Well, definitely from the earlier question, we could do with a re-release of the AT-AT. We could do with a release of the gunship, the clone gunship. We could do with a release of the Interceptor, the TIE Interceptor. So that's 3 for you without thinking about what other vehicles that we've had. Obviously, they are re-releasing the Slave One again. So apart from those 3 that I've mentioned, nothing really springs to mind, but definitely the ones, those 3 would be a good start. Stephen Novak says, hey Tim, if the next HasLab is a Sandcrawler, fingers crossed, do you think it has a better chance if it was under the Mandalorian? What would you prefer, a Mandalorian Sandcrawler or a Star Wars A New Hope Sandcrawler? I would definitely want the box to be A New Hope because it would match the electronic Sandcrawler that we got back in the late 70s, early 80s. So that would be my preference. But in terms of the vehicle itself, I've said this on many occasions, I would want it to have a dual purpose. So you would have the Sandcrawler from the Jawas in A New Hope, and then you would also have the off-world Jawa version with all of the extra tents and whatever else they've got going on top. That would be ideal. Lamar Avery says, do you think we'll ever get a Jennifer Beals Twi'lek character from the Book of Boba Fett? Maybe Hasbro can make her Cantina playset and include her figure with it. I've got to be honest, my friend, I think that is a stretch too far. I really don't think they'll do that. As much as us collectors would love that, I can't really see them doing that. I think you're going to get the main characters from the Book of Boba Fett, and that is about it. And the main characters obviously being, you know, Cad Bane, Chrysanthemum. I can't really think of any others, to be honest. Maybe a Pike, but that's stretching it as well. So really can't see the Jennifer Beals character, but it would be cool. Cisco Deer says, question for next week, BB, do you think we'll ever see a new sculpt for Director Krennic? I know you'll want one for the finish of the Battle on Scarif scene. Thank you and your awesome video. Thank you, Cisco Deer, for the question. Yeah, I think with the Director Krennic, I think we're going to have to wait for that new sculpt of the Admiral Piet. See how much that can be converted into a Krennic. New head sculpt, of course, soft goods cape. Hopefully that's all that they've got to do. And, you know, the same for Thrawn as well when they eventually get around to do a Thrawn. Hopefully that sculpt for the officer really sort of opens up lots of doors for lots of other characters that we need. Deathwatch Dude says, question for next week, Bossk. With this being non-Star Wars related, if you could choose one movie or show from the 80s that doesn't have a figure line, which would it be and why? Personally, I would like to see a Heckle and Jekyll figure along with the Mac and me. So for me, it's always been the Fall Guy. I used to love the Fall Guy as a kid. And when I was a kid, I could never get my hands on his truck. Certainly there wasn't a figure line, I'm 99% sure. But I think you can get his truck now. I think a company may have done that like 7 or 8 years ago. Looks pretty awesome. And yeah, the Fall Guys, I love that show. Nathan Rosario says, question for next week. Now that Hasbro seems to have perfected the Stormtrooper in the Vintage Collection, do you think we need other OT Imperial Troopers to get the same treatment, like the Biker Scout and the TIE Fighter pilot? The current version of both of those figures are just not up to modern standards. Yep, you're absolutely right with those two. I would bring in the Imperial Stormtrooper Hoth Battle Gear or the Snow Trooper as well into that. That's why I've got these two here. And what worries me about the Speeder Bike pack with the Biker Scout is that they've said that that Biker Scout's only going to have a slight update. Not from this one, but from the 3.75 inch Black Series figure. I think he was like a slight update to that one. So that really what does worry me, because I think the Biker Scout needed an all new sculpt personally. Let's hope the changes that they are making are going to be significant ones, i.e. a slightly larger helmet, because the one on that figure at the moment is definitely undersized. And this one as well, I think we need a new Snow Trooper on that card back in the Vintage Collection would be awesome. And of course, as you mentioned, the TIE Fighter pilot. Man, that figure got released with the TIE Fighter, then he got reissued on that same Jedi card back. We still need him on an Empire Strikes Back card, and the figure is, you know, it's well outdated. He doesn't even have ankle joints, does he? It's a pretty old sculpt, that figure, and it should have been updated by now. But I'm with you, mate. But the one that worries me is the Biker Scout. I really want to see what they're going to be doing with that figure, the one that's going to be coming with the Speeder Bike. You know, fingers crossed it's updated enough. Rob Chewbacca says, great video, BB. Do you think the new Luke Skywalker TVC, The Rescue, that Hasbro should have taken out the gun hand on Luke and added the Crush Fist, another Force use from the Rescue scenes? Great content as always. Yeah, absolutely. When you've seen what they can do with that Darth Vader figure, where they've given you alternate hands, for a character like Luke Skywalker, it would have been nice for them to have done that. That figure is another one that worries me a little bit, in that it hasn't really been updated too much from the Jedi Luke Return of the Jedi figure. He's definitely got new legs, but apart from that, I think it's just more of a repaint really, which is, again, for a character as big as Luke Skywalker, you know, and he is wearing a slightly different outfit in The Mandalorian, you would have hoped for a new figure, wouldn't you? Middle-aged Kiwi man collecting Star Wars figures. Kiora Bossk, question for next week. It sounds like you have some inside intel about Return of the Jedi figures coming out next year. I'm personally excited about the hinted brand new Endor bunker. My question is, what ever happened to the very strongly rumoured Mandalorian N1 Starfighter? I would have thought it was announced by now. Maybe they are waiting for HasCon. Yeah, I think if they are going to announce that this year, it probably will be at PulseCon. I don't know for sure. I think it was Jason at Yakface that rumoured that one, right? That is something that I haven't heard of personally myself, like from, you know, everyone has their own sources and stuff like that. So that's something I've not heard of. So fingers crossed we will get that. I mean, if Jason has heard about it, then it's more than likely true. So we can just hope that it's revealed soon, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be wanting that vehicle. Matthew Rowley says, how would the Vintage Collection change if for some reason Hasbro stops producing Retro Collection and Black Series figures? Oh man, don't get me into this. But let's face it, if that were to happen, the Vintage Collection would see a bigger budget. It's just a fact. You know, the Black Series is Hasbro's darling. They put a lot of their sort of resources and budget into the Black Series. You can just see that with all of the Obi-Wan figures and all of the Andor figures. And once again, the Vintage Collection is getting left behind in that respects. They tell you that they're doing other things in the Vintage Collection, like, oh, we're concentrating on the original trilogy and we're doing this, but the Black Series get them as well. So it's not, you know, it's nothing to sort of harp on about, in my opinion. So nothing against the Black Series, nothing against the people that collect the Black Series. You can collect what you want, you can buy what you want. Obviously, I'm more of a fan of the Vintage Collection. The truth of the matter is that if the Black Series and the Retro Collection didn't exist, then the Vintage Collection would be their sort of primary thing, wouldn't it? And it would have more of the budget. Someone says, hi Bosky, I really love the Clone Wars era and heard rumours about a Clone Trooper Black Series helmet before. Do you think the Clone Trooper helmet will be released in the future, maybe with the Andor series coming out, because the show does have a clone in it? Also, I really hope the Vintage Collection will release the AT-TE and more Clone Wars vehicles. Do you think it's possible we get any Clone Wars vehicles in the future? Well, to be honest, I think we're lucky if we get any vehicles in the future at the moment, isn't it? I mean, I know there's a couple coming out next year, that is for sure. But, you know, in terms of the Clone Wars, I just can't see it happening. I think those days are unfortunately gone. You know, maybe they could reissue the gunship, perhaps. I think that's definitely one that's needed, you know, in terms of a reissue. I know a lot of people would like that didn't get it first time around. In terms of the Clone Trooper helmet, that isn't something I've heard of, but it's definitely one that's needed. I think if Hasbro were to do a Black Series Phase 2 Clone Trooper helmet, that may be the first time that I buy one of those helmets, because I do love the Phase 2 clone. Grant Mackey says, great episode. Tim, question for next week. Are you planning or doing anything special for episode 150 of Ask Boss Bounty? You are quickly closing in that milestone. I've watched since the beginning. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much for the support, my friend. In fact, thank you to everybody that watches my videos and supports me. I really do appreciate it. I love the Star Wars community. You're all great people. In terms of something special for episode 150, I remember when I did episode 100 and I was planning on sort of asking people to send in videos of their questions instead of leaving a comment, but I thought that'd be a lot of work. Maybe people wouldn't want to do it, show themselves on camera, all that kind of thing. So I sacked that idea, and I think I did a live stream for my episode 100. So maybe I'll do the same thing for 150. I'll do a live stream for it, a live episode of it. But if you've got any other ideas that you want to put down in the comment section below, let me know. I'm all ears. Hyperspace K says, hey Bossk, Hasbro has promised in the past that they will release every character that interacted with the Razor Crest. It's been months since it shipped and we're still waiting for a season 1 grief, plus the gang from the prisoner heist, heck, even a frog lady. Do you think they've forgotten about this promise to the fans? Well, I think it was maybe a slip of the tongue from Patrick, because obviously he said it, and then in the very next live stream, I think he backtracked on it and said, you know, within reason, we're going to give you all of the figures that come with it. And that could have meant anything, couldn't it? But I think the one that we're really missing is the Season 1 Grief Karga, because he goes with all of the other figures that we've got, and we've got this weird Season 2 Grief Karga, which goes with nothing. So that was a big mistake on their part, in my opinion. Of course, Frog Lady, a lot of people would like that figure, but in terms of the prisoner gang, the prisoner heist gang, you know, I think it's just not going to happen. You know, I hope we get Miggs at least, because he's coming out in the Black Series, but the other people, man, it's just not going to happen. They just don't make enough figures in the year to be able to sort of slot those in. Roberto Pliego has a very long question here, but the shortened version is that he's asking if I do think they'll ever do a Jedi Council playset or HasLab with all of the Jedis that come with it. Now, in the short answer is I don't think that they will do that. I mean, I'm not saying it's not cool. I would definitely like all the Jedi characters. I'm not really too fussed about the sort of playset element of it. I just think we need some more Jedis, like, you know, Ki-Adi-Mundi, for example, is a really important character. I think we definitely need him in the line. Paul's Collectible says, Tim, question for next week. Is there a planned end of the line for the vintage collection that you are aware of? If not, what factors do you think would cause Hasbro to end production of the vintage collection? And if so, do you think they'd replace it with another 3.75 inch scale figure line, or move solely to the 6-inch scale? Thanks in advance. So I don't really want to think of the end of the line, because, you know, it's something that I collect and I'm enjoying collecting it and everything, but I think what would prompt Hasbro to end the line is if it didn't make them any more money. So if it stopped making them any type of money and it became a hassle for them to do, then we wouldn't see it anymore. I think in terms of what would still be around for 3.75 inch, I think they would probably put all their eggs into the retro collection. They seem to be sort of putting out a lot of that as it is. So the end of the vintage collection, it's not a nice thing to think of, because I think there's so many figures that they still need to do. They still need to complete the 96, for example, and, you know, who doesn't want some more Andor figures and some more figures from The Mandalorian and OT figures that we've never had before, Garandan, things like that. So much that they need to do. Super frustrating, but yeah, fingers crossed it doesn't happen for a while, my friend. Alright then guys, that's it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for submitting your questions. And of course, if you do want your question answered next week, please leave your questions in the comment section below. Of course, if you do that this week, you'll also be entered into the giveaway for the book, the Kenner Guide book from Red 5 Designs. So thank you so much for watching, and thank you to my Patreon supporters and channel members. Thank you to the community at large. You're all great. So thank you for watching, and we shall see you on the next one.